I remember the exact moment I realized something was wrong, not with him, but with all of us. It wasn't loud. No argument, no scene. Just a quiet moment that made everything we thought we knew feel uncomfortable. And by then, it was already too late to pretend we hadn't seen it. I used to work in a mid-sized office in Chicago. Nothing special, just rows of desks, the usual deadlines, coffee that tasted slightly burnt, and conversations that repeated themselves every week. You probably know the type of place. People weren't bad, just predictable. Everyone had their routines, their groups, their unspoken hierarchies. And if you paid attention long enough, you could tell who mattered, and who didn't. That's where he came in. His name was Daniel. He joined the company on a Monday morning. I remember because I was sitting near the entrance, and I saw him walk in holding this worn-out leather bag. It didn't match anything about the office, too old, too simple. He looked out of place. Not because of how he dressed exactly, but the way he carried himself. Quiet. Careful. Like someone who didn't want to take up too much space. At first, nobody paid much attention. But over time, things shifted. Daniel didn't talk much. He would come in, sit at his desk, and work, non-stop. No small talk, no jokes, no effort to fit in. Even during lunch breaks, he'd either eat alone or just stay at his desk. And in an office like ours, that stands out. People started noticing. Then came the comments. At first, they were subtle. Little jokes here and there. Does he even speak? Man, I've never seen someone so serious about spreadsheets. Maybe he's just weird. I won't pretend I was above it. I laughed too. Not because I thought he deserved it, but because that's what everyone else was doing. It felt easier to blend in than to question it. That's something I've thought about a lot since then. How easy it is to follow a group, even when something doesn't feel right. Over the next few weeks, Daniel became a kind of background character in everyone's conversations. Not in a mean way, exactly. More like casual dismissal. If something went wrong, someone would say, maybe Daniel messed it up. If there was a boring task, someone would joke, give it to Daniel, he loves suffering. People laughed. And somehow, it became normal. What made it stranger was that Daniel never reacted. Not once. No frustration. No defense. Not even a forced smile. Just silence. I remember thinking that was the weirdest part. If it were me, I would have said something. At least shown some kind of emotion. But he didn't. And for some reason, that made people push even more. It's like his silence gave everyone permission to keep going. One afternoon, something small happened. But it stuck with me. We were in a team meeting, discussing a project that had been falling apart for weeks. Deadlines were slipping, clients weren't happy, and the pressure was building. Our manager was frustrated. At one point, he asked if anyone had a solution. There was this awkward silence. Then someone, half joking, said, maybe Daniel has a master plan. A few people chuckled. I did too, at first. But then something unexpected happened. Daniel raised his hand. Not dramatically. Just calmly. And when he started speaking, the room changed. His voice wasn't loud, but it was clear. Direct. He walked through the problem step by step. Pointed out things no one else had noticed. Offered a solution that was simple, but somehow exactly what we needed. No over-explaining. No trying to impress. Just clarity. I remember looking around the room. People weren't laughing anymore. They were listening. For the first time, I realized, none of us actually knew anything about him. Not really. After that meeting, things shifted, but only slightly. People stopped making jokes in front of him. But behind his back? It continued. Guess he's not completely useless. Probably a one-time thing. It was like people needed to protect the version of him they had already created. Because changing that would mean admitting they were wrong. And that's harder than it sounds. A few days later, I stayed late at the office. Most people had left. The lights were dimmer, the usual noise replaced by that quiet hum of computers. Daniel was still there. Of course he was. I don't know why, but I decided to talk to him. Maybe curiosity. Maybe guilt. I walked over and said something simple. "Hey, that solution you gave in the meeting. That was really good." He looked up, slightly surprised. Then he nodded. "Thanks." That was it. No follow-up. No attempt to continue the conversation. It felt awkward. I remember thinking, why is this so hard? So I tried again. "How long have you been working in this field?" He paused for a second. "Long enough." There was no attitude in his voice. Just restraint. Like someone who had learned to say less, not more. I didn't push further. But something about that interaction stayed with me. It didn't feel like he was shy. It felt like he was careful. A week later, everything changed. Not dramatically. No big announcement. Just a quiet realization that spread through the office. We found out Daniel had been transferred from another branch. But not just any role. He had been a senior analyst, leading major projects. Projects bigger than anything our team had handled. At first, people didn't believe it. It didn't match the image they had built. But then the details came out. His past work. His experience. His results. And suddenly, everything felt off. I remember sitting at my desk, staring at my screen, but not really seeing anything. All I could think was, how did we get him so wrong? What hit me harder wasn't the fact that he was experienced. It was realizing how quickly we had decided he wasn't. Based on what? The way he dressed? The fact that he didn't talk much? The way he didn't try to fit in? We had taken silence, and turned it into weakness. We had taken difference, and labeled it as less. And we never questioned it. The office atmosphere shifted after that. People became nicer. More respectful. Some even tried to include him in conversations. But it felt different. Forced. Like they were trying to fix something without acknowledging what they had done. Daniel didn't change. He stayed the same. Quiet. Focused. Distant. But now, people saw him differently. And that's when I noticed something uncomfortable. The only thing that had changed was our perception. Not him. One evening, I saw him leaving the office. For some reason, I caught up to him. "Hey," I said. "Can I ask you something?" He nodded. "Why didn't you ever say anything? When people were, you know." I didn't finish the sentence. He understood. He thought for a moment. Then he said something I still think about. People believe what they're ready to believe. I didn't know how to respond. So he continued. If I tried to convince them otherwise, it wouldn't change much. Not really. There was no bitterness in his voice. Just acceptance. Then he added, almost as an afterthought. It's easier to let time show them. That conversation stayed with me longer than I expected. Because it forced me to look at myself. At how quickly I judge people. How easily I go along with what everyone else thinks. How comfortable it is to make assumptions, instead of asking questions. I remember thinking about all the small moments. The jokes. The silence. The times I could have said something, but didn't. Not because I agreed, but because it was easier not to stand out. Daniel never became close with anyone in the office. He didn't need to. Over time, people respected him. Some even admired him. But there was always a distance. And I think that distance wasn't created by him. It was created by us. Looking back now, I don't remember the projects we worked on, or the deadlines we stressed about. What I remember is that slow realization. That uncomfortable shift in perspective. The moment I understood something simple, but hard to accept. We don't see people as they are. We see them as we decide they are. And once that decision is made, we look for reasons to prove it right. Even when it's wrong. Sometimes I wonder what would have happened if we had treated him differently from the start. If we had been curious instead of judgmental. Respectful instead of dismissive. Would anything have changed? Or would we have still found a way to misunderstand him? The truth is, Daniel didn't prove us wrong. Time did. And by the time we realized it, the damage was already done. Not to him, but to how we saw ourselves. So now, whenever I meet someone new, I try to pause. Just for a second. Before forming an opinion. Before joining a conversation. Before laughing at something that doesn't feel right. Because I've learned that the easiest judgments are usually the least accurate. And sometimes I still think about that one question. The one I didn't ask back then. The one I ask myself now. How many people have I misunderstood, just because it was easier to assume than to understand?